obviously in the Mustang community, there's a really big argument, which has to do with what's faster, 3-valve with a 3.7 liter. I don't know. I've raced a 3-valve before, and I got beat. I got beat pretty well, as a matter of fact. I never posted the video because the video is really bad quality, but I guess I'll show it to you here. Watch. So yeah, I've been beaten by a 3-valve before in my 3.7. I had a lot of mods done to it, but he had cams, 2-step, manual, slicks, and he was a good driver. I give him props because he was running good times, way better times than I ran in my car. So a lot of the 3.7 guys think that they're faster than the 3-valve guys. Of course, the 3-valve guys naturally think that they're faster than the 3.7 guys. In reality, who really is faster at the end of the day? Well, there is no answer for that because every setup and every car is different. What you can expect is to have a very, very good race, depending on whether you're automatic or manual, depending on what mods you have. You're going to stay away from adding forced induction, nitrous, turbo, prochargers, superchargers. We're not going to talk about that because then that really depends on what kind of kit you get and what kind of tune you have, and it gets away from the natural ability of the car, so I'll stick with naturally aspirated. Going to compare naturally aspirated 3 valves and 3.7 liters. One of the first things a lot of people always bring up, well, 05 to 09 GT, 2010 is a whole new car. Not really, people don't say it like that, but people always compare that, you know, the 10 is faster. Well, let me tell you about the 2010 GT 3-valve versus 05 to 09. There was only a few changes that they really made. Obviously, the body was the biggest change. Everybody knows that the 2010 body style was what the whole new world, you know, for Mustangs at that time. Hang on a second. Gotta pay attention. So, yeah, there wasn't many differences between the 2010 and then the 2005-2009 Mustang GT. So if you're in a 3.7 and you're gonna race one, it's not like it's, well, that big of a difference. They're actually about the same speed. When you look up quarter-mile times for the 3-valve Mustang, a lot of places I saw said 13.7 for the 2010 GT. Some places said 13.5, some places said 13.6. Now when you look up the quarter mile times for the 2005-2009, 13.6, 13.7, 13.8, about a tenth slower, but overall on average it's about the same, 13.6, 13.7. Now when you look up quarter mile times for the 3.7, you get 13.7, 13.8. So that leaves stock for stock the 3.7 roughly about a tenth slower. Now, when you're comparing driver to driver, one driver can make the difference of 2 to 3 tenths over another driver. Not faster, but one being that much slower because they either suck or they don't have the same kind of experience. The 2010 GT has 315 horsepower compared to the 300 that you saw, you know, the year before, and that has, you know, a difference mostly because of a cold air intake system that was redesigned, which I did a video about cold air intakes and modern cold air intakes on S197s, 2010, 11 and up, and they are better. So when you're upgrading your air intake on your 2010 GT, you're not really going to benefit too much because you already have a better cold air intake from the factory. Just like I talked about, which is even more proof that goes behind what I said in my cold air intake video, which if you haven't seen, here's a little card right here. You can check that out. But yeah, so the cold air intake was redesigned for 2010 in the GT, and the red line was also raised by a couple hundred RPM. So that resulted in about 15 more horsepower and a little bit more torque. But they did gain about 15 to 20 pounds in the 2010 year also. It wasn't much weight difference. A lot of that stuff was pretty much the same. They said the numbers were a lot of the same. It was a little more horsepower, a little more weight. So it kind of evened out a little bit. They kept the same transmission. Now, obviously, the Cyclone 2011 and up was basically the same thing. It was minor changes and stuff like that, but same engine, same transmission, everything else. Most of the options were the same. The weight on both cars now, the 3.7 versus the 3 valve, the weight was very similar also. Both cars being between 3,400 and 3,600 pounds, with the GT being slightly heavier. So when it comes to the track and you put the two side by side, everybody's seen videos of 3.7s being 3 valves. 1, 2, 3! Videos of 3 valves possibly being 3. I don't know. I haven't seen any videos of it, but I'm sure it happens though. Naturally, the 3 valve I feel like is going to respond better to mods than the 3.7 handle. I'll give you an example. If you do long tube headers and tune and mid pipe, put some slicks on both cars, the 3 valve is going to get more gains out of it versus what the 3.7 would gain. Part of it is because you have a bigger engine. It's able to breathe more air when you open it up. Mod for mod, the 3 valve should benefit more than the 3.7 would. Everybody knows who 3 valve Eric is on Instagram. Now, he's only got a couple mods done to his car. He runs decent times. Somebody sent me one of his time slips, and I'm very impressed. He does a good job. And I do take back a lot of the shit I said about him. Not because I saw his time slip, but because I was out of line by talking shit about the guy. I don't like to do that. I'm not somebody that wants to put off that persona of that asshole who, you know, has to call people out for shit. If he wants to say fuck your V6, that's not cool, man. But you know what? Whatever. Let him do what he wants to do, I guess. It's not worth it. We've actually talked to each other since then. I have to get over it big time here. So we've talked to each other since then, since I put out a video. He put out a post on Instagram making fun of me after I put out that video, which I deserve that. That's okay. So we're even now. So since then, we've been able to talk a little bit, and we're actually helping each other out, which is cool. That's the way it should be in the Mustang community. His car runs very well. Very well. For the minimal amount of mods that he has done to it. Now, there's a couple guys with 3.7s that have minimal mods that are running good times also. There's guys with automatics. Trenton Caps to be one of them. He only has a tune and some exhaust, and it's really about it. I think he might have some gears, but I don't remember if he has gears or not. But basically, tune exhaust, and he's running like 13.2, I think. Our buddy Justin Murphy has shorty headers, mid pipe, tune, 373s, port intakes, and he ran a 12.9. Yeah, it's I think 107 or 108 miles an hour, somewhere around there. That's roughly around where 3 valve Eric is trapping. 12.9, but a little bit higher miles per hour. So when you get into manual versus automatic now, the driver is key. When it comes to manual, the driver is definitely key. If you put the same driver in a 3 valve Mustang, the same driver in a 3.7 Mustang, 9 times out of 10, the 3 valve Mustang is going to win. As much as the Cyclone guys are going to hate to hear this, I have to be honest. I don't want to just bullshit because it's a 3.7 page. The 3 valve, most of the times, is going to win. But here's the catch. There's a lot more 3.7 owners that know how to drive their cars than 3-valve owners, from what I've seen. There are some 3-valve guys who could drive. 3-valve Eric is one of them. But from the majority of what I've seen, 3.7 guys go to the track, they know how to drive, and they cut good times. The same driver in both cars, 3-valve most likely is going to come out on top both times. The build I'm doing on this car is going to be a little bit different than the build I did on my last car. I've learned a lot of stuff about the 3.7. I've learned a lot of stuff about the 3.7 Mustang, and seeing how guys are getting faster. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my last one was not doing my suspension up well enough as I should have, and running on the wrong tires is the number 2 thing. That alone should have cut off probably 4 or 5 tenths. 60 foot would have dropped at least 2.5, 0.25. Which, in my opinion, would have made a nice big difference with my quarter mile time overall. Automatic versus automatic. Again, the problem being the 3.7 has 273s from the factory. That's no good. That's no good. I just uploaded a video of my girlfriend's car, who obviously lets me drive her car. And we were doing 0 to 60 runs, and I just wasn't very impressed with the performance of it. 6.0 0 to 60. Granted, it's a fully loaded premium. If it was a base, it would have been a little quicker because we're down almost a couple 100 pounds. But overall, I wasn't impressed with it. Now, stock for stock, unfortunately with the 3.7, you have to take the right model, which would be a performance package, because it comes with 331 gears. Now, the GT is going to come with better options, better performance options, because it's a GT. You can get 355s, even 331s, you know, are normal in those cars. Granted, it's a different transmission, so they are geared differently. The GT has better options to make it quicker from the factory than the 3.7 does, unless you take a performance pack 3.7. Now, if you take a performance pack 3.7, 331s, these are the cars that when you look up quarter mile times, these are the 3.7s that are cutting 13.7 at 102 miles an hour. So automatic versus automatic, again, I have to give it to the 3-valve. So that's 2 wins for the 3-valve. If you have a driver that can't drive, he's going to lose. You could take an automatic stock Mustang 3.7 with 273 gears and race the stock 3-valve manual, and the automatic could win because maybe the guy in the 3-valve just can't drive. I hate to say this, but the 3-valve, mod for mod, would be faster than the 3.7. However, there are some benefits to the 3.7. The 3.7 does have a higher red line by almost 500. The 3.7 naturally is a little bit lighter, but the 3.7 doesn't have access to aftermarket parts like the GT does. So again, when I say mod for mod, once you start modding these cars, you could do cams in the 3.7, but you're not going to gain much. You could port the heads, but you're not going to gain too much. Now, in the 3-valve, you can get a nice set of hot rod cams in there, which are easily available aftermarket. You can get a nice performance intake, which is easily available aftermarket. And you can get any of the same suspension parts or other parts that you get for the 3.7 liter cars. But what's more fun is taking a 3.7, modding it, and beating a 3-valve. You can't compare sound because the 4.6 liter is one of the best sounding Mustangs of all time, in my opinion. 3-valve 4.6 liter is an amazing sounding car. I'm not jumping ship here, don't worry. I'm not going to trade my car and buy a 3-valve. I don't want a 3-valve Mustang. The advantage is if you're going to buy one or the other. See, I don't know if I want to buy a 3-valve. I don't know if I want to buy a 3.7. They're so similar in performance and everything, and sound isn't that important to me. Well, you can get a 3-valve starting out at 05, 06, maybe a higher mileage for about $5,000, $6,000. Maybe it's a little low. Well, it's $6,000, $7,000. Higher mileage, like I said. And you could have a lot of fun with it. And it could end up being a very fast car. You can get a 2011 3.7 for $7,000 or $8,000. And it could be a really fast, fun car. So why do we buy 3.7 liter Mustangs? If the 3-valve is cheaper, if the 3-valve can be made to be faster, the 3-valve sounds better, so why do we buy a 3.7 liter when we can just have a 3-valve? Well, for one, it's a newer car. Some of us want a newer, more reliable car. But two, for some people, gas mileage is a little bit of a factor too. 3.7 obviously gets way better gas mileage than the 3-valve. So for people who are driving every single day, driving these cars maybe 50 to 100 to 150 miles a week, maybe more than that, it's more practical to own a newer, more reliable car that gets better gas mileage that you can still have fun with. That's why people buy the 3.7 liter. If you're going to buy a car because of the way it sounds, you're going to pick a 3-valve. But if you weigh out all your options, that's why you get this diverse community of Mustang owners that own 5.0s, 3-valves, 3.7s. Yes, money is part of it too. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes people just buy what's more practical for them. So all in all, it's really up to you what you want to buy. It's really up to you what you think is faster, because they can both be made fast. It comes down to driver, auto versus manual. Those are the two things that are going to determine any race between any two Mustang that's so similar like that. Whether or not which one is auto or manual, whether or not which one has the better driver. And in reality, that's all that matters. Both cars are fun and worth buying and will bring you happiness in your life. I'm 3-7. You guys have a good day. The biggest downside to a 3.7 that will always eat us alive when it comes to comparing a 3-valve and a 3.7 is torque. It's very hard to get out of a naturally aspirated V6, especially a high revving naturally aspirated V6, when you're comparing it to a 4.6 liter. The 4.6 does have a good amount of torque from the factory. The 2010, the 315 horsepower, it also has 325 foot-pounds of torque right out of the box. So off the line or from a dig, it's an immediate advantage on the 3-valve side. And torque is very important when it comes to getting the car rolling and launching your car, and just the overall power band. It's going to be very hard to ever match the kind of torque that comes out of a 3-valve.